Welcome to Leaving the Lies and Speaking Your Truth. You can find us on Facebook and on our YouTube channel, both titled Leaving the Lies and Speaking Your Truth. We ask that you like, share, and subscribe to help support our page and our show. And I'm going to first of all introduce my co-host, Autumn. Autumn, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited for today. I didn't sleep very well last night because I was truly and honestly excited for this.
I'm excited too. We are very, very excited to welcome our special guest today. We have Kay Hawkins with us. Kay was married to Yisrayl Bill Hawkins from the beginning of the House of Yahweh until 1994 when she was officially excommunicated. Kay is here to share her story of being married to Yisrayl and being part of the House of Yahweh, not just being a part, but being a very important, vital part of the House of Yahweh and the work of Yahweh from the beginning. And that Kay was not only a vital part. Kay was my mother-in-law when I was in the House of Yahweh, and she played not only a big part in me leaving the House of Yahweh, just because of the way things fell out, but also played a big role in helping us to get back on our feet after we left as well. And I am no longer married into the family, but her and her children have continued to treat me just like part of the family whenever we've seen each other since then. So, Kay, we are so, so grateful to have you join us. And we thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us today. And we are so looking forward to it. Do you have anything else at this point as far as anything you want to say as an introduction?
Well, every time I meet someone that I know from the House of Yahweh, and there's an immediate bond. We have shared so much together. We can be apart for years, and then we can meet, and then we pick up right where we left off. And Sharon Stubbs, remember her?
Yes, I remember Sharon and Bill.
She said the same thing. She said someone asked her what it was like to be in the House of Yahweh. She said you wouldn't understand, but there is such a strong bond between all of us. So with that,
very accurate.
I'm ready to answer some questions.
Wonderful.
All right. Let me just say before I ask the first question, I just want to kind of add on to Melody's. I was not married into the family, but Kay was always so welcoming to me. And I want to say, not only did she give you the strength to leave, Mel, but what she doesn't realize is I got into a lot of trouble because she gave me the strength to question, to study, and to point out that they weren't right. Because I always remember stepping back and going, well, Kay did it, so can I. I didn't have the strength quite to leave when she did, but I had the strength to stand up. And for that, I am ever grateful. Kay, what was your role as the overseer's wife in the beginning of the House of Yahweh?
Now, what beginning are you speaking of? The beginning with the Worldwide Church of God, or with him personally, or with the House of Yahweh?
With the House of Yahweh, when he first started.
When we first started, we were, prior to that, members of the Worldwide Church of God. And yet at the same time, we were fellowshipping with Jacob Hawkins, Bill's brother in Odessa, Texas. And he established the House of Yahweh in Israel in 1972. And he brought the House of Yahweh back and took it on to Odessa. And then I think it was in 1980 that we disfellowshipped ourselves from the Worldwide Church of God and started to work at the House of Yahweh. And the first house was a mobile home. And it was located on Highway 603. Remember where Rose Radabaugh lived?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Right off the main road there.
In one of those areas, right on the highway, we moved in a mobile home, and it was a chicken house at one time. And we fixed it up with chairs and a podium and the piano from my house. And it was me and Ruby and our children. And so that first, so we started in the living room first with 7 people. Bill, me, and our 5 children. And then after that, we moved into the mobile home, and they called it the Mobile House of Yahweh in 1980. And then later on in the next year, 1981, we started building the sanctuary in Abilene, Texas. And that's where the brick building is today, which is now the printing area.
Right.
I think they turned all of that into a printing area, printing press. And but by we had the P.O. Box 2442, and Bill and I would drive to the post office, and we'd try to he'd look and see if there was any mail in it whatsoever, and there was nothing from the outside. But we started putting an advertisement in the National Enquirer magazine, Why Aren't Your Prayers Answered Today? And we had that in there several years, and it wasn't until, I believe, 1986 that the first outside members came to the House of Yahweh in Abilene.
Wow.
And it was so interesting. They were all black. They were black. They were Black American, and there were 8 of them. And so that was a test, because Yisrayl Hawkins was very prejudiced, to say the least.
So where were
yes.
they from, Kay?
Well, North Carolina.
Okay.
And the southern state, and I think Illinois.
Oh, so they didn't come as one group.
No.
Oh, I thought it was one group of 8 people. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And remember, Izzy, right?
Yep, I remember.
Yes.
Izzy.
Well, he was a part of that. He was the part of the first group, and Izzy is still at the House of Yahweh.
Wow.
Which I see him every once in a while. He walks, 'cause I live very close to the printing press area. In our divorce, I got the only property that I had titles to.
Right.
Because everything else he put in somebody else's name, and
yes.
and it wasn't worth chasing that rabbit down the hole.
Right. So, Kay, was there either a spoken or unspoken rule? Was there always some type of feeling that the man was supposed to be the head of the household, even before the House of Yahweh, when it came to Yisrayl?
Well, the man, he kept saying, "You should respect me. You should respect me." And I was of the opinion that respect should somehow be earned, rather than just given wholesale for nothing.
Right. And
if his idea was respect, I certainly didn't respect him when he gave me black eyes.
Right.
Yeah. But he stopped whipping on me when the House of Yahweh started. So I didn't, I wasn't bruised then, but he was,
right.
He's moved on to different things.
Right.
And so in 1986, first we had 1985 actually, the first people came. And then I think it was 1986 that the group from Wisconsin, remember the House of Yahweh in Wisconsin? Yeah. And they came as a whole group. And then there was a group from Louisiana. And then there was a group from Maine.
Yep.
And then there was a group from Michigan.
Yep.
And
Canada.
Years ago.
Wow.
Kept going further north.
I know, we were all pioneers. And but then remember in 1991, I do believe, that we were bursting at the seams, remember?
Yeah. Yeah, we had the big tent in the parking lot.
And then remember the sermons that came up that they were all planning to go to Israel?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And that excuse me, the group from, I'm going to have to cough. So.
That's okay.
The group from Wisconsin had made a model of the temple, remember? And they put it up front. in the at the new sanctuary, which was built out on the 44.
Right.
And that way, and the first sermons, the first ones we had. Hang on, just a minute. Here's my book of Yahweh.
Oh, there we go.
And in it, I wrote, oh, here's what he said to me in 1988 when we got this. To my one and only in 1988.
Wow.
Mrs. Kay Hawkins from Yisrayl Hawkins, may this help you always to serve our Creator and friend, Yahweh of hosts. Now, the first sermon preached in the new sanctuary out in Eula was the Sabbath of May 18, 1991. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, all right, well, keep that date in mind, May 18.
Yes.
Because it's going to come back again.
Okay.
But in 1993, because
Yes.
women never forget dates.
Oh.
I was just going
And
come back around to 19 something. I know that's the date. Okay.
so, and then the first, let's see, I used to have a better page than this. Oh yeah. The first sermon preached in the sanctuary was the Sabbath before Pentecost. So then from there in 1991, it began the whole group, the whole organization began to grow exponentially by leaps and bounds. But one thing that Yisrayl Hawkins cannot do is think ahead and delegate and share power and enclose everyone into an organism that would be able to grow.
Right.
But Israel wanted to control every aspect of every part. So he had the notion that don't let your right hand know what the left hand is doing.
Right.
And in 1991, after we were still in Abilene, Texas, let's see, it was 1990, was it? Yep, it was in 1990 that, remember Israel's first cute little secretary, Debbie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Debbie.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Well, he came to the house right after the Feast of Tabernacles, and he told me, he said, I've got to let her go. She's stolen from the House of Yahweh. And I thought to myself, well, that's strange. That doesn't sound like Debbie.
Right.
But he fired her anyway. And 1 month later, guess who came to live in Abilene, Texas, but his new secretary, who had conveniently taken her place.
Okay, well, hold on, Kay. Hold on just a minute now. We're going to get there.
So
she answered my question, Mel.
Yes.
And
Yes.
my question, Kay, and you just answered it, was did you ever expect that he wanted to control a group of people? And you
Yes.
inadvertently just answered that. So
Yes.
now we can move right on
Yep.
to yours.
Yep. Did he allow your children to behave like children, to play with toys, to watch cartoons, to do the things that children would normally do?
Well, not like normal children.
Okay.
They had their chores to do.
Right.
And they had work to do. And at least they did go to school, public school. But one of the effects of that was, they banded together like so they're very close.
Right.
They covered each other's back, and they're still close today. But they suffered a lot of abuse, growing up.
Yes.
And
Well, and let me explain. Part of my reason for asking that is because I don't know if you're aware of this now, but in the House of Yahweh now, children are not allowed to play with toys, and children are not allowed to watch any cartoons of any sort. And I I have said previously on the show that that is really more of an Yisrayl Hawkins mentality than it is a teaching of the Bible or the House of Yahweh. That is coming from him, and it's deep rooted within something that he did even before the House of Yahweh. Would you say
Well,
that's correct?
well, see, when the kids came home from school, Bill was in Abilene, taking care of the businesses,
Right.
and the kids would come in and do their chores, and then they'd sit down and watch TV because I let them.
Right, right.
I
When
let
he
'em play
wasn't
like
around.
children.
Yes.
Then when he would drive up the road, they would split,
Yeah.
go outside and play.
Yes.
So they had just half of a normal childhood.
Right.
But what's going on now is Buffalo Bill wants to control every mind that's there. And right now he has children that are in their 20s.
Mhm.
The result is that he has several girls and boys
Right.
that are uh, they have no idea whatsoever what life is like
Right. No, because
outside.
they've never experienced anything outside. Yeah, outside the
Right.
walls of the.
So if you watch TV, that I'm sorry, but it's a sorry. There's what's on there.
Right.
Right.
It is. It is.
Well, I was gonna say, after she'd asked that question, you answered. I was gonna say, I bet their childhood was fun with mom, and then let's not be able to be seen as much by dad. Which yet again, you answered my next question.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I was gonna ask, what kind of father was he? Because I was the same age as two of your children, I actually got to, I wouldn't necessarily say him in action, but I knew the underlying thing of what was being said because of their reactions and what you just said, because I always saw you as a mom, and you were just, Kay, you were just a plain old simple mom. Don't you get into trouble. You need to be back at this time, like every other mom.
Well,
So
well, the first, this is, I was a young woman when I met Yisrayl Hawkins, and I had never met anyone who had a psychiatric problem. So, it was beyond my comprehension, the way he would behave.
Right.
I was overwhelmed with that.
Right.
He will never mature. He will always be a child in his thinking. And one of the hallmarks of a person who is mentally ill is that they keep repeating the same thing over and over with the assumption that it will turn out differently.
Yes.
And he's done this. He said, if you only obeyed me, everything would be all right, but if he wanted the children to obey him too. And when the children got in their teenage years, they were more mentally aware than him. And he would come home and say, I've got a big problem with so and so and so and so. And what? He's doing this, that, and the other, and she's doing this. And I said, they're teenagers. Everything's going to be all right. That's what my daddy told me all the time. Just be patient. Let them, everything's going to be okay. But you know what? He would try to trap them. And, we would leave and pretend like we were going to go out of town to see another group or something. And he would double back and try to catch the kiddos, breaking one of his rules while he was gone. And I thought that to me showed the children how childish he was.
Right.
Because our children were smarter than him when it came to things like that.
So, Kay, when did you first learn? Oh, go ahead, Autumn. Did you have a question? Were you going to add to that?
No.
Oh, okay. When did you first?
Question. I was going to make a snarky comment.
Well,
we like those too.
No, nothing has changed. Yisrayl Hawkins is still the same out there, only it's compounded by the fact that no one else says to him, "What are you doing?" I
You
would say to him, what
you
are you
used to be
doing?
that person, Kay, and I've said that. I don't know if you've watched any of our episodes, but I've said that
Mhm.
before. That you used to be the one person who could keep him in check, and
Mhm.
when he would say things that seemed off the rails or not in the norm, you would be like, we can't do that, and you'd kind of reel him back in. But I don't think anybody's there to do that anymore. But you knew how to
No.
do that with him.
So no one is there to ask him what he's doing
Oh,
or
where
why
did
he's
Autumn go?
doing it. And it's the last one who was one of his right
There we
hand
go.
men had recently passed away. Remember Shaw
Yes,
Schneider? Yeah.
yes, we
Mhm.
did hear that. Yes,
And he was he was in
Yes.
his 50s. Not much older than my oldest son.
right.
So uh, I don't. He's relying on someone because but he's very busy trying to put his property out of his name into LLC corporations. I know that.
Right.
And you know what's going to happen? He's going to forget where they were and who they are, and whoever has them is going to have his property.
Right.
And
Yep.
that's
Yep.
the irony of it.
Yep.
Yes. Kay, when did you first hear? I'm going to say because I think that when it first came about, it was you assumed, like we all kind of did, that it was a rumor. When did you first hear that they were going to start the rumor that they were going to start teaching about multiple marriage?
Uh, it was May 18,
Oh, you
1993.
didn't hear anything before that. You didn't have any
Oh, I
suspicions before that.
see. Is before that, when his personal secretary
Right.
came up 90 and then 91. Well, he said he had to move to the sanctuary because the work was becoming so burdensome, and our home was so far away that he needed to be there, and he had a little trailer house and his office there, and but, that was all right with me.
Right.
So it was, but I would do the writing and set the prophetic word, and he would sign his signature and take it and get it printed. But the secretary was there, and so he didn't. I didn't hear anything. In fact, the first I heard of it was when the secretary said, "I'm Israel's wife." And remember the date, May 18?
Yes. There's that date.
Well, May 18, 1993, she called in on that date. And it wound up that she was Israel's wife. And they had a wedding ceremony by David Berner. And, yeah, my world just blew apart by that. I felt so betrayed. So shaken by it because my first thought was you are going to ruin the work by what you're doing. And then I was so mad. I got my little 1960 something Ford sedan and drove out to the lake where he was fishing and found him there and called him everything but a white man. And then I went to Abilene, where his personal secretary lived in this very nice, I think, 20 by 80 mobile home. And from the conversation, it finally got around to, I said, "I know this man," and I said, "I know that unless you find a private property that's in your name and move this mobile home off of this property, that one day you're going to leave here with the clothes on your back and a suitcase." And she came with a car and a trailer and all of her possessions and left her children with her husband and divorced him. And I heard from her husband that she didn't pay child support because she pled poverty, that she didn't have a job and she couldn't.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So I'm gonna jump ahead to a question, Mal, since
Okay.
we're on this.
Okay, go ahead.
Were you and this woman friends before this came out? And did you suspect any feelings between them?
Well, denial is a very strong response.
Yes.
And I couldn't see it. I didn't dwell on it. In fact, I was not a jealous person.
Right.
But my relationship with her was respectful. I didn't accuse her of trying to take my man, and
Right.
gossip about how my husband was doing me wrong. I
Right.
kept it all to myself because it wasn't a pretty thing for the leader of an organization that might become worldwide to show himself so disgraceful as to do what he did and how he did it. And to this day, he accuses me of destroying the work and me of losing my understanding. And he has destroyed it. By his actions. And he's turned out the House of Yahweh, which could have been a worldwide organization at this time. And he's turned it into a polygamous doomsday sex cult.
Yep.
But even now
accurate.
he's 86, and he's past that, because there comes a time in a man's life when all the pills in the world can't do anything for you.
Yes.
Right. Right. But does he know that though? Does he understand that though, Kay?
We're not sure. So
Well, he had a great prescription and a thing for his activities. And he started having children, almost immediately. So
Kay, has the secretary ever contacted you since you've left?
no,
No. Okay. So you don't have any contact with her.
no, and I haven't tried to contact her.
Okay.
So, Kay, I have a question for you. Before the Laws of Marriage and Slavery book, did you feel that you were being ostracized by anyone that was in the congregation, especially like the elders or their wives?
Absolutely, because I found out that my husband had slandered me in the men's Bible study, and boohooed that I had lost all my understanding, and that he was afraid for my soul, and then the next day he played it for the women's law class, of which I was told not to attend, and then he ordered the tape destroyed. But one of the men working in the sound room made me a copy. So I have it on tape exactly what he said about me.
Wow.
That was when he presented the first phone number of the 613 and the 613 commandments, and that.
And so Kay, this was before the secretary called you.
After.
After. Okay, because I was going to say, did he suspect then what your reaction was going to be? Because why would he try to slander you before he knew how you were going to react to the news?
Because I had gone to Charles Schneider, as soon as I could. After July 21st, when Kiva Arsamont brought forth that first sermon about multiple marriage, remember?
Yep.
And immediately.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, yeah. And from May 18th to July 21st or 23rd, I can't, but it was 1993.
Yep.
I told Charles Schneider that what Israel had done, and that he was going to destroy the work, and that he had committed adultery against me.
Right.
But then, come to find out, Buffalo Bill bribed him. And I have proof of it.
Wow.
That Shaul said, this is how much I will need to join the work and do the work that you would like me to do.
Wow.
Yes. And so instead of being the go-between between Buffalo Bill and me,
Right.
to work this out, he was to tell me that I was wrong and that I was a sinner and that I was going to lose my eternal life if I did not allow my husband to do what he wanted to do.
So
when he
essentially,
wanted to do.
he became Bill's mouthpiece.
Yes.
He was talking to you through him and telling you what he wanted to tell you without him being the one telling you.
Yeah.
Right.
Just keep her quiet, and then every time I would go to the sanctuary, I would have to play the piano. Then I'd walk out the door and time it where the music would have to start again, and then I'd play the piano and leave. And so I guess I showed to everyone that I was totally irritated.
Right.
So, but it was because of how I was treated. I was being
Well, hold on, stop just a minute. And I can't believe I'm about to correct Kay Hawkins, okay? I need everybody to mark this moment down because I am such a huge fan of hers.
All right.
Let me just say this, Kay. And you know who I was married to, Yedidia. And you know if Yisrayl did it, he was doing it too. I'm going to tell you that when you were out in public, Kay, you were still smiling. You were still shaking hands or, hugging. You were still very respectful. I remember specifically sitting in a chair, big, round, and pregnant, being told that my husband was going to take on this other woman as a wife. And I remember looking at you going, how is this woman up there smiling and enjoying this? That is what I saw. That's how you reflected to me, who was sitting in the congregation.
I
didn't
was dying.
See irritation. I didn't see that.
I was dying inside, but I put on a face, because I didn't want to hurt the little ones. I was warned over and over again. If you turn a little one away, what hope have you? So it was my hope. It was the face that I put on in public.
Right.
But to the elders and their wives, later on they saw a different part of me. I remember one time, they came into my house. There was elders and their wives. And I thought, well, they want to, listen to the what's between Buffalo Bill and me. They weren't the little ones.
Right.
They were supposed to be mature in the faith and could listen to what was actually going on.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Bill was sitting at the head of the table, and I was at his right. Across from me was J.M. with his wife, and Kay Arthmont with his you know who, his first wife, and I don't know who else was there. But anyway, it was Carol and Darren.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Well, I thought they were there to listen to what I had to say. But Jay Martin immediately said, Kay, you are sinning because you don't want your husband to have another wife. Mm. And I looked at him, and I looked at Bill, and I looked at all of them, and I say, you are nothing but a bunch of pimps and whores. Get out of my house.
I like that response.
And Bill walked into the living room. He was crying like a crocodile. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And his one of the women went over there and was comforting him, patting him on the back. And when they left, I said, what was that all about? He wanted to parade the fact that I was going to tell them to get out and I'm not going to listen to you.
Right.
No. So
Okay.
if I had been more devious and have had some advice,
Right.
I would have played it up to the,
Right.
I can't believe that you don't believe that he shouldn't have another wife.
Right.
I agree. I should have said, I agree with it wholeheartedly. I don't know what he's been telling
Right.
you.
Just because he was predicting how you were going to react, and you should have reacted the opposite, right? Okay, well, we're down to 2 minutes, so I'm going to throw the next question out there, then we'll send you another link to the next part, because we're going to have to do this in multiple parts, obviously, here. So come back for part 2, but before we do that, I'm going to ask the question to get everybody to come back and watch part 2, which is, when Yisrayl found out that his brother Yaakov had died, what were your thoughts on that, and how did you react to that? So we're going to find that out when we come back for the next part. I'm going to re-ask that question. So think about your answer. Okay, we'll be back.